You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers about hikers for everybody.
Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, the ultimate midlife crisis. Join Steve and his guests every week as he staggers from Georgia to Maine.
Hey guys, we're back because it's Thursday. This is episode number 506 of the Mighty Blue podcast. I'm your host, Steve Mighty Blue Adams. I'm feeling pretty chipper today because I've made a decision at last about whether or not to try for a third Appalachian Trail thru-hike next year. It ties into today's episode and today's guest. Let me explain. Our guest today is the wonderfully named Sandra Katerina Schmelzer Alvarez, more easily remembered as Peaches. I was editing our conversation yesterday and I found myself entranced by a passion about the trail. Halfway through, I kind of stopped editing and said out loud to myself, I'm going to do it. I've been waiting for that moment of clarity because without it, I wouldn't have felt sufficiently committed or motivated to go again. And that may seem funny to those of you who just make up your minds and go, but I need to be able to answer just one question. Is this what you want to do more than anything else next year? And today, I answered myself and I said, yeah, it is. So I'm going to start preparing, so unlike me, I know, and I'm getting a personal trainer with some experience of what it's going to take physically, as I'm, 73 years old now, or I will be when I go, to get this done. I'm going to let you know how the training's going with regular updates. So, yeah, I'm going again. As I say, Peaches is this week's guest. She is Venezuelan with a terrific, positive story to share with you all. And we'll be hearing from her in a moment. We recorded this conversation on August the 28th, and she'd finished just over a week before. Then, after Peaches, Beth and Andrew continue eating their way north through the mass of trail magic that they are encountering along the way. They are now just over 150 miles from Katahdin, having just gone up and over the awesome Bigelows, with no more huge mountains before Katahdin. We'll hear from them after we hear from Peaches. So now, let's meet the reason I'm going to be heading to the Appalachian Trail next year. This is Sandra Katerina Schmelzer Alvarez, or Peaches. We've got another brand new thru-hiker with us this week. I'm recording on August the 28th, and our guest today finished just over a week ago. This is a bit of a mouthful, this name, but this is Sandra Katerina Schmelzer Alvarez, or Peaches. And I'm going to call you Peaches, by the way. Thanks for coming on the podcast, Peaches.
Hello. Thank you for having me, Steve.
Well, you're very welcome. And congratulations, by the way, straight away for doing that thru-hike. So I know how it feels and I know how excited you must be now that you've done it and it's out of the way. How are you feeling just 8 days after Katahdin?
Whew, it's still, it's starting to sink in now, finally, but it felt very surreal for the longest time.
Sure. So, but how is that? Are you physically exhausted now, or are you feeling?
No, not really. It's not physical. Of course, I still have all the soreness, my feet and my legs, a little bit still, but it's mostly mental and emotional. Like I still want to be out there hiking. Like it doesn't feel real that I'm back in the city, in society, and I need to get back to work and all of those things.
Well, I see that never goes away. I mean, I've mentioned on the podcast, my podcast this morning that I released, that I'm thinking strongly of doing my third Appalachian Trail hike next year. So, we'll see how that's going to go. So where did the trail name Peaches come from? Who gave you that?
Yes. So that was back in 2021. I was living in Tennessee back then, and I started hiking with a group of people from a meetup group. And I met a really good friend. His name is Freight Train. He thru-hiked last year. And as we were hiking together, I pointed out, boy, you're stinky. And everyone around us were all stinky. And he said, well, you know what? You don't exactly smell like peaches. And I said, oh, yes, I do. And it kind of stuck after that.
Of course it did. I remember once, actually, when I was hiking in 2014, I was having a really close conversation with a guy, and I'm right behind him. And I thought, oh, my God, he stinks. So I kind of backed up about 15 feet, and I realised the smell was still there. It was me, not him.
Oh, it was you.
It was a nightmare. So you're Venezuelan, though you've lived in
Yes.
America for the past 21 years. Did you do any hiking when you lived in Venezuela, or is this something that you've come to more recently? I know it's different since you've come over here, but did you hike back in Venezuela?
I did a little bit of hiking, yes. So I am from the capital, Caracas, and we have, it's a valley, and then behind it, it's the mountain. So the mountain chain is the Andes. That's where the Andes begin in Venezuela, and they go all the way down to the tip of South America, which is Chile.
Yeah.
So it connects the whole continent, or half the continent.
And you used to hike there?
Yeah, so I did a little bit of hiking there, but it was just little day trips, like just a few hours at a time. But I feel that it opened those doors for me. Like, I just loved the mountains. I always knew that I love the mountains, since that's where I belong.
There is something about being close to a mountainous region that is attractive. I know my partner and I have been talking about moving to North Carolina or to Tennessee, one or two of those places, just to get close to that feeling of being in the mountains. So you came to US. I don't know where you lived to start with, and I know you're in Jacksonville at the moment, Florida, but you eventually moved to Tennessee. Was that because you literally wanted to be close to mountains?
That was literally the reason I moved to Tennessee. Yes, because I had lived in Florida for let's say 15 years,
Right.
and I was never.
Yeah.
I was never a beach person. I like the mountains. I always knew that I wanted to be close to them, but I was kind of stuck in Florida. So I found a way to move towards the mountains, and I knew, that was the mountain range in the east of Tennessee. So I just basically pinpointed, I picked a point in the map, and I said, okay, I'm going to move here. And it was around Knoxville, Maryville area. So I lived in Maryville, Tennessee for almost 2 years. And then I started hiking in the Smoky Mountains. And there's a 900-mile challenge of the Smoky Mountains.
Many people have done it. I know. Did you took that up, did you?
So I took that up. I did 400 miles of it.
Right. Did you enjoy that?
Oh, loved it. Loved every second of it. I fell in love with the Smoky Mountains.
And some of those are day hikes, and some of those are overnights as well, aren't they? So we'll come back to that in a minute, actually. I know you're a single mother. So you mentioned that you joined Meetup to get into hiking. Tell us about those Meetup groups, because I always hear good things about them.
Yeah, they are awesome groups. I met amazing people there. They were super welcoming of me and my son. And we just started going on day trips. So with my son, we would only do day trips because that's where he drew the line. He's not interested in backpacking and sleeping in the woods. No, he wants the comfort of his bed.
Right.
But then I started going on trips overnight. So just like one night at a time, and then I would do 2 nights and 3 nights. I think that was the most that I did, 4 days and 3 nights with Meetup
Before
groups.
you actually got into doing the AT. That's amazing.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so day hiking and backpacking, as we know, are entirely different disciplines. What was it that actually appealed to you about backpacking?
Let's see. Backpacking overnight. It's the adventure, it's the unknown, it's a challenge.
You scared? Were you ever scared?
I was scared my first night alone in the woods. Yes. So when I started going just on my own without the group, the Meetup group, yes, I was scared my first night. My eyes were peeled the entire night, just listening to all the sounds of the wild. It was like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? But it was a necessary evil, if you want to call it evil, because I just overcame it. That night, it was what I needed to overcome that fear. And then from then on, I was perfectly fine.
I think we all have to get that first night out of the way, don't we? It happened to me on the Appalachian Trail. That was my first ever hike. And it took me 400 miles before I slept anywhere by myself. But when you wake up in the middle of the night, I think you realize how dark the forest is, don't you?
Oh my God, yes. So dark, and all the noises that you have never heard before.
Oh, yeah. And at this stage, when you were doing these meetups, you had no idea about the Appalachian Trail, but you met a guy in one of these groups who does backpacking clinics. Tell us about the clinic and what sort of stuff did you learn? Yeah,
so this is, his name is Lane Lacoste, and he is a search and rescue guy, volunteer.
Right.
And he's, oh my gosh, he's extremely knowledgeable in gear, in, of course, what not to do on the woods, how to stay alive.
Sure.
Lots of talk about hypothermia. So he conducts these clinics, backpacking clinics, 101, 201, and he does winter backpacking clinic as well. So I don't think I did the third one. I only did the 2.
Right.
And just fantastic information. And he has so much gear that people who have done the clinics, they have donated. So he has lots of gear that you can borrow. So on these trips for the clinics, you just borrow that gear. You don't have to buy your own to start. So that is amazing, because then you can test out before you buy anything.
Does he still give these clinics?
I believe he does, yes. So last year, he does it on just outside of the Smokies.
Right.
I can't remember.
Well, I tell you what we'll do. I tell you, if you find the link, send me the link to his site, and I'll certainly put that in the shows, because the idea of borrowing gear to try out is good for a number of different reasons. One, that people may not like backpacking, so they don't want to buy a lot of gear and then decide they don't like it. But secondly, if you're going to do like you did, an Appalachian Trail through hike, the chance to try out different gear to work out what works for you, that must have been quite valuable for you.
Yes, it was very valuable. So I borrowed a hammock system for that clinic.
Right.
And that went okay. I was comfortable, but I was a little bit cold, and I didn't sleep at all. And I didn't sleep at all for the entire trip. But I didn't think that it was necessarily the fault of the hammock system. It was me, because I have a hard time sleeping anywhere that is not my bedroom, my bed. So yeah, sure. I didn't, really associate it to the system itself. So eventually I did buy a hammock system.
Right.
And I tried it on the Smoky Mountains when I started the 900-mile challenge. And I used it for all the 400 miles, and it just didn't work out for me, unfortunately. I really, really wanted to like it, but I didn't. But I was so happy that I tested it out on this on the Smoky Mountains before I ever headed out to do the through hike of the AT. Because by then I already knew, okay, the hammock system is not for me. I'm going to buy a tent.
So you've got involved in the day hikes and then the overnights. At this stage, though, the AT wasn't actually on your radar realistically, was it? What first interested you in the idea of an AT through hike? And did you actually know there was such a thing as a through hike?
I did not know anything about Appalachian Trail. I knew just general trails. Oh, there's trails everywhere, but I didn't know specifically about the AT. I learned about it by going hiking with this group. And then my friend Freight Train, he hiked it last year.
Right.
So when he started it, I just, within the first week, I just knew, hey, I have to do this myself too. So it was in my mind. From then on, I started planning. I started saving money, started buying gear, started preparing my son as well. That was a huge undertaking, not just the gear and the experience and all that. That was actually second.
Of course. Yeah, I want you to actually is it Nico is your son? Is it
Nico? Is his name.
Yeah. So tell us about Nico.
Okay, Nico he was 18 back then when I started the AT through hike. He turned 19 when I was on trail.
Sure.
Now, the reason I said that there was difficulty, how am I going to deal with all of this regarding my son, is because he's in the spectrum, autism spectrum. Yeah. So he's a little bit behind developmentally, cognitively. So it was a challenge being a single mother. I have always been with him with school. I kept him on track with everything, making sure that he was doing all his work, because without me, he would get sidetracked, he would get distracted, he would just play video games, and he would not do his work. So it was always on me to keep him on track. Now, were we going to accomplish his educational goals with me being gone? So that was the challenge.
Right. I'm sure it was. So how were you able to get away this year with an autistic son? Because he's still quite young, as you say. He's not old. He's probably old enough to leave right now, but you actually left him with your previous husband, is that right? Or your previous partner?
With my sister.
Oh, with your sister. Okay.
With my sister for 2 months while he finished the semester. So he was in college already. We are a homeschooling family, and
Right.
he basically skipped high school and he started taking college classes because he's highly, highly smart. But so the way his brain works, like very high functioning in some areas and very low functioning in other areas.
Sure.
So as long as I kept him on track and helped him with activities, with the navigation aspect of it, like, okay, you need to communicate with your professor. What are you going to tell your professor? As long as I helped him with that, he could do the academics by himself.
So how did you prep him then for this? Because I'd imagine the thought that his mother is going to be going away for quite a period of time must have been quite traumatic in some ways. How did he receive the news when you told him about this?
The idea was very daunting for him at first. He did not like it, but because we had an entire year to prepare, he slowly started getting used to the idea, to the point where he even started looking forward to being on his own so that he could take the reins of his life. He actually wanted to do that. He wanted to, that autonomy that we all want and crave.
Sure.
He wanted that. And so it, over time, it became easier for him, and he accepted it and looked forward to it. Well,
we're going to come back to Nico and his reaction to you being away a little later, but I want to carry on now with the fact you chose to go this year. Had you already accumulated your own gear, or were you still borrowing stuff?
I had a few things, but they were not appropriate for the AT.
Right.
So I needed to start buying. So, for example, I had the hammock system, and I knew that wouldn't work, so I need to buy a tent. So I needed to buy the tent. I needed to buy a sleeping pad. I had already the quilt. So the quilt that I used for my hammock system, I thought that would be enough. It ended up that it wasn't. It wasn't enough.
Really? I had a quilt on my first AT hike in a tent. It worked out pretty well for me.
Okay. Yeah. It seems like women tend to sleep colder than guys.
I'm sure.
I learned.
I'm sure you're right. Yeah.
So I ended up having to buy a sleeping bag in mountain crossings and to use on top of my quilt.
Oh, right. Wow. I mean, that was a lot then, yeah.
It was a lot, but that kept me warm finally, because before that I was freezing every night. It dipped into the 20s pretty much every night because I had an early beginning. I started March 4th.
Yeah. And I'm sure the experience you had from borrowing that gear made you find out stuff that worked for you and stuff that didn't work for you before. So that, you had a good education for that as well.
Oh, absolutely. Lane was incredible at teaching, especially about down. I had no clue about down technology, any of that. None of it. I wouldn't have known how to use it, how down worked on your skin. Like, you're supposed to have it directly on your skin, not too many layers in between for it to properly work. Like, that's the sort of thing that I learned through Lane, the backpacking clinic.
Well, I've done this hike twice, and you've just taught me something, so I didn't know that either. How did you prepare physically for the hike? Did you do any shakedown hikes?
Not really. What I did was, I was already a rock climber. I've been a rock climber for years. So, but that really isn't doing much for your legs. It's all upper body for the most part. But I was working my cardio. So you can still work your cardio when doing rock climbing. And this was at a gym,
sure.
Because obviously there's no rocks to climb in Florida.
Certainly no mountains.
No mountains, nothing. So I couldn't properly train the way I wanted to. So at a gym, I would just put on my backpack and do the treadmill to the highest inclination, or the Stairmaster with a backpack on with 20 pounds. So I started with 10 pounds, increased to 15, and then to 20.
Right. So, and when you actually started the trail, what was the weight of your pack? Do you remember?
When I first started at Micalola, it was 29 with water, food, everything.
That's pretty good.
My goal was actually 25, so I was a little upset.
You did pretty well. Mine was 42 when I went first time.
Oh, Lord.
And I know you're 41 now. That's often a difficult age to disrupt your life. What did your work say when you told them that you wanted to do this? Because you're a teacher, aren't you?
They were super supportive. They were super excited for me. And they said, hey, we love you here. We want you back. So if you come back inside the 6-month period, we just take you right in. You don't have to do anything. Now, if you go beyond the 6 months, we might need to do a rehire process. But in any case, it
Sure.
wouldn't be a problem. So they're super happy to take me back, and I'm talking to them again, and I'm coming back next week on Tuesday.
Oh,
Monday's a
you're starting
holiday.
again.
Yeah.
Do you know what? That must have been such a weight off your mind as well. And I know that you also gave up your rental home as well, and you've got a storage unit. So where are you living now? Are you living with your sister?
I am living with my sister, yeah. And I don't know when I'm going to be able to get my own place, because I don't even know what's going to happen with my son.
Sure.
He wants to stay where he is. He's with my ex in Vero Beach, Florida, and he wants to stay there, but he still needs a little bit more guidance. So the semester didn't go so well now in the summer while I was gone. So if he's going to need more support, I think he's going to have to come back to Jacksonville. So if he does come back, then we get our own place sooner rather than later.
And you saved quite a bit of money, you said, when you went away, but you actually spent less than you saved, which is pretty unusual for an 80 hike. And I asked you about it the other day, obviously, because I'm thinking about doing it again next year. And how much do you say you spent? Between $6,000 and $8,000?
I think I spent about $6,000 to $8,000. Yeah.
That's about just over $1,000 a month. That's very reasonable, isn't it? Yeah. So you set out March the 4th. How were those early miles? Was your fitness up to it straight away?
It took me a little while to get used to the miles. Every day was a new pain. Everything hurt. And I was doing only 7 miles. I was basically going shelter to shelter, just doing 7-8 miles. And that was as much as I could do. I would arrive to camp between 1 and 3 p.m. and just be exhausted. But then it would be fun time. So, you would meet with all the people, gather and have fun. So it was all good.
I'm sure it's the best thing for you to start slowly. I'm absolutely sure
slow,
it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I listened to a million, YouTube channels and all things backpacking related. So I always heard that it's better to go a little bit slow at the beginning so that you give your muscles, tendons, ligaments, everything a chance to adapt to the new regimen.
Sure.
It's a huge physical exertion. This is no joke. This is intense.
Imagine doing it. I've done it twice in my 60s, and I'm thinking about doing it in my 70s. Yeah, you're right. It's bloody difficult.
Oh my gosh, I can imagine. So it wasn't until later, much later, after Virginia, I think, that I really started to push myself, because before that, I don't want to say concerned, but I was a little bit slow because I really wanted to give my body the chance to adapt. I didn't want to break myself. For me, the goal was long-term. I want to make it to Katahdin. I'm not going to make it to Katahdin if I break myself, if I break my body in the process. So for me, it was like, okay, I better go slow, but so that I can make it to the end.
I tell you what, Sandra, I say this a lot on the show. Men are so dumb when it comes to that sort of idea. They take chances, they go too fast, and that women do it so much more sensibly than men. So yes. I'm glad you said that, just to back up what I've always been saying about it. And I know that
I totally agree with you.
You took a little break in the middle. You went home from Front Royal because your father was visiting. How long were you away from the trail?
I was gone for a total of a week. But I took a 0 in Front Royal before actually heading out. And then, so it was about total of a week of zeros.
So how did it feel to come back? Because by then I think you had been in a tramline. We're going to talk about your tramlines in a minute, but you're hiking along, you're doing well. And then suddenly the whole hike is disrupted when you go back home, isn't it? Were you comfortable getting back on trail? Were you urgent? Was it urgent for you to get back on trail?
Yeah. So I adore my family. I love my dad to death. And I was so happy to be here visiting and seeing them, my stepmom as well. But in the back of my mind, I never left the trail, and I wanted to get back so bad. So the day that I got back, it was actually an evening flight that I took to get back to Washington, D.C. And then amazing person, Iron Mike, picked me up, and he took me straight to the trail. And my flight was a little delayed, so I didn't make it to the trailhead until about 8:30 p.m. So from the beginning, I started hiking at night. And that was actually my first time hiking at night. So I just turned on my headlamp and I just went. And then suddenly I saw 2 pairs of eyes in the distance. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? Thankfully, I immediately realized it was deer in front of me. So that was good.
So you had a few different tramlines you're associated with. Did you prefer hiking with others and the compromises you need to make when hiking with a group, or did you prefer hiking by yourself?
I prefer hiking with other people, which is not what I thought I would prefer. So I started the trail thinking that I'm not a super social person. I think I'm gonna rather be on my own for the most part, but I was open to meeting people and all of that. But the actual experience once I started is that, wow, hiking by yourself is really tough and lonely. So thankfully I met people right away. On my second day, I was already with a tramily. And then we had a fallout.
Wasn't that the international club? The tramily, the first one?
That was the international clubs. Yeah. So Pooh Bear, a girl from Belgium, and a guy Shorts from Canada.
Nice. And you from Venezuela, yeah. And then you told me about a couple of other people you hiked with, and then you met the preschool, which was funny. And you were the teacher in preschool. There were nine people in their 20s?
It was 8 of them, all of them in their 20s. And then when I joined them, they were so gracious. They took me in, like one more. And I am a teacher myself. So I'm a nutritionist, but I'm working as a teacher currently, or I was working as a teacher. So it was perfect because it came out to be called, we all call it the preschool. And then I was kind of like the teacher to the preschool, the oldest one.
And then you eventually ended up back with one of the guys you'd been in a family with some time before. And so it's the way in which people dip in and out of each other's lives on trail, which makes it so fascinating to me. So you eventually summited with this guy, but you told me yesterday that you didn't take a single 0 day since July the 4th, which is a solid 6 weeks of hiking every single day. Mm-hmm. Talk to us about the transformation in your body that you noticed. And you even had measured, didn't you?
Yes. So I'm a little bit of a geek when it comes to stats and measurements. And so being a nutritionist, like I'm in the sciences and I love all those things. So, and I'm into fitness and wellness and all those things. So before I hit the trail, I went to this place to get a body composition scan. Right. So it measures your body fat percentage. It gives you the results in pounds and percentage. Right. And it also gives you your everything else, like the weight of the rest of your body that is not fat. Sure. So that way you can really track that composition, the changes. So before and after, it was pretty dramatic changes. I don't know if you are interested in knowing the numbers.
I am, definitely, because there were quite dramatic differences, weren't they?
Yes.
Because the reason I want to say this is that women don't usually lose a lot of weight on trail. Men lose catastrophic amounts of weight, but women don't seem to. And you say you only lost 5 pounds of weight, but the difference was quite dramatic, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it was only 5 pounds of total weight loss, but I lost 12 pounds of body fat, and I gained 6.6 pounds of muscle.
Wow. That is something, isn't it? It really is.
Yep. And my body fat percentage went from 28 to almost 20.
So the numbers showed that you had a successful hike in terms of transforming your body. How did it feel? Because you said you really noticed this once you didn't have any zeros. So from July the 4th, you noticed this transformation happening. How were you feeling?
Hungry. I was hungry all the time. So I think I doubled my food intake, and I definitely added a lot more butter. So I was doing powder butter from the beginning, but I was just adding a little bit, mostly for flavor. I didn't really feel that I needed that many calories at the beginning because, like I said, I was pacing myself. I wasn't really exerting myself too much.
But Peaches, so people rarely get that hiker hunger early on. You can eat as much as you want, but you just don't eat that much when you first start hiking, do you?
Yep, that is true. So it wasn't until later when we didn't take any zeros anymore, hardly any Neros, and I was really pushing hard. So that's when I started feeling the transformation. It was quite dramatic. From one day to the next, I could tell, wow, my hip belt it's almost maxed out. And then the following day, it would already be maxed out. So I hiked with a maxed out hip belt for many hundreds of miles. I had to start putting my pants that I wasn't wearing anymore. I had to start putting it around my waist to add some padding because it was hurting on my hip bones. It was very uncomfortable. And I wasn't wearing the weight on my hips as is intended, but I was rather putting it on my back and my shoulders. So that was really uncomfortable.
Yeah, I'm sure. So you climbed Katahdin last Wednesday. How was the day for you? Do you have decent weather for it?
It was wonderful. It was gorgeous. It was mostly clear. Temperature was really nice. I think it was in the maybe around 65. It started getting a little windy up there. So we just put on our puffies and had lunch. We were up there for about maybe 2 hours, just enjoying, having a great time. Yeah.
And I've got to tell you, by the way, your summit picture holding the Venezuelan flag above your head is awesome. You know, I always say to people, make sure you get a good pose for the summit because that's the one that's the picture you're going to be looking at forever. You got a great picture there. But tell us about approaching the sign itself. You were a little bit paralyzed or something.
I was. I approached the sign and there were some people on it. So I waited my turn, but then the sign cleared. And I couldn't move. I was just looking at it, staring at it, blank. And then my friend Snapshot told me, Peaches, come on, let's get you on the sign, get your pictures. And I just told him, hold on, I need a minute. Because it was just too much, too many emotions. I needed to process them so that I could get in the right mood to get on the sign, to touch it. It was just too much. And I really wanted to take my time. I didn't want to rush things. This is so special. You've hiked so long. You've worked so hard. You really want to take your time to really enjoy it. Yeah,
damn right. I mean, whenever anybody talks about it, I always get the hairs on the back of my neck go up. I remember it well. It's fantastic. And to finish up, I want to circle back to Nico. I guess there were 3 stages to how he would handle this. There was your prepping him, and which you talked about, to actually go in the first place. Then there was how he was while you were away, and then how he is now you're back. Can you tell us something about that? And I ask all of that because this accomplishment of yours very much ties into your relationship with your son, doesn't it?
Yes, it is. This accomplishment of mine is also an accomplishment for him. We are, tied in that sense because we wanted to accomplish something very specific by me doing the AT, which was to detach myself a little bit from him and for him to detach from me a little bit and start, doing his own thing and taking really the reins of his life. So I feel that we accomplished that, but he also realized that he still needs a lot of support and help.
Sure.
In navigating through life. And that's okay with me. I feel so strong now. I feel, that, okay, I discovered I am someone else other than a mom. And so sure. I am ready to, go back and, guide him as needed. And he's looking forward to that as well because he didn't do so well in his first semester at the new university in his program. So this was a big deal. He was starting the program for his major this summer and he bombed it. So he's very sad right now and he's really taking in the consequences of his actions. And even though it sounds like a failure, I don't take it as a failure. I take it as a huge growth opportunity for him to realize, wow, my actions really have a consequence. Sure. And then I have to deal with those consequences. So he's dealing with probation. He needs to contact a lot of people from the school. He has to explain what the situation was. He needs to explain, hey, I have a proper diagnosis. And this is what happened. I moved away from my home and my mom, who was the only support in my life, she left. I was on my own. And I had to deal with all of this for the first time in my life. So I'm really hoping, crossing my fingers, that they'll have some compassion and allow him back for the spring semester so that he can continue his studies because he really is a bright kid. I think he has a lot to offer to society. And I think he's going to be great. He just needs a second opportunity to prove himself.
And I'm sure now that he recognizes the value of making decisions himself, that's going to make him stronger as well.
Yeah.
But, one of the things you just said, you saw yourself as something other than a mother, which must be incredibly liberating for you. So what's next in your life? Do you think you'll go on another long hike, or do you think you're one and done now?
I am ready for another hike, Steve. I want to go back out there so bad. I'm already researching the PCT, the CDT, see which one I want to do first. I really want to get back out. It feels, Steve, like that is real life. This here in the city society, it's like a side. It's on the sidelines. It feels now. It's not real. It's just something that you have to do. But to me, being on trail, that life in the woods, and a little bit of that mindset of survival and dealing with food insecurity, water insecurity, all the elements and everything. It just feels so real.
Yeah, it does.
So yeah, my perspective has definitely changed.
Yeah, this is why I can't kick it. Still, but it's been 6 years. It will be 7 years since my last big hike.
Yeah, going on a third time.
And if I go again, it'll be. I'm excited by the prospect for that very reason. This whole life is so different out there and so enjoyable. Well, look, I appreciate you coming on the show, Sandra, and sharing so openly about your son. And I wish Nico obviously the best, and hopefully he does carry on the spring semester. But yeah, thank you for sharing your story, and best of luck in the future. Okay.
Thank you so much, Steve, for having me on.
I appreciate it. Cheers then.
All right.
Bye.
All right, bye.
I really love that conversation. She was able to be something other than a mother, yet she was so aware that her role as a mother was critical in her son's life. And those meet-up groups, they're perfect for single hikers who want to hike with others. I've been a member of a few of those, even a group for podcasters, so you should check a few of them out. I've added a link in the show notes to the one that Sandra talked about, the Beginner Backpacking Clinic, so check that out. As I said at the end, Nico knew that he needed to learn to cope without his mother, so this hike was as much about their relationship as it was about her desire to hike. I was really impressed with the way she thought through her responsibilities in that regard. Now, I want to say thank you to several of you. Our membership continues to grow, and in fact, I announced Wednesday afternoon my decision to do the AT again next year in our private Facebook group for members, Off Trail with Mighty Blue. I'd love to see more of you there. Just go to buymeacoffee.com/Mighty Blue and join the membership, which starts as low as $3 a month. You can't even get a coffee for $3 a month. Several of you still donate through our website, including recurring donors Lisa Rana, Brian Helton Jr., Woody Bass and Natisha Webb, while some of you have converted those donations to membership. I've been preparing a list of financial supporters this week, and many of you will receive emails soon inviting you to join the Facebook group and one or two other benefits of being a member. I'll also be inviting some of our members to a Zoom video meeting in the next week or so. So watch out for something from steve@hikingradionetwork.com. Now, let's catch up again with Beth and Andrew, who are steadily closing in on Katahdin, which is just over 150 miles ahead of them. Hey guys, how are you?
Great.
Real good, thanks.
Oh, you sound happy. I know one of the reasons for that is last Thursday, but we'll talk about that later. Last week you spoke with me from about mile 1964, I think it was, which means that unless you've been incredibly slow this week, you must have passed 2,000 miles. You're officially 2,000 milers. Quite an achievement. So does that feel good?
It feels great. We just have just a little bit more. It's just like a victory lap. It's all smooth sailing from here, hopefully.
Yeah. Not quite, but yeah, you're nearly there. You're right. And you pass through the roads into Rangeley after last week, where of course you found a couple of coolers. It is still happening, isn't it? You're still getting this trail magic.
We I couldn't believe it. We had kind of gone through a dry spell for a little while, so it was about time. It was great to find those two coolers. One had soda and water in it, and the other one had some fruit, and it was very well appreciated.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you though, by the way, this, I'm not joking. Your hikers made me really want to do this again because my listeners have already said they're going to come out and help me anyway. So, I mean, I'm going to be inundated with trail messages. I'll be the first fat bloke to put on weight.
You won't lose any weight at all.
Quite something. And that night you were into another shelter, or Andrew was at least, but you apparently changed your mind about the accommodation during the night, didn't you? Tell us what happened.
The whole shelter, it was just full of mice, and they didn't climb on anybody, or they didn't climb on me anything, but just all night long you just hear them. I was like, oh, I'm not going to be able to sleep. So I just grabbed all my stuff and went and set up my tent in the dark.
Oh, God, that's not good. Did you prefer to stay in the shelter if you can then?
Lately, it seems to be that we're staying in the shelter just because we don't want to set up the tent.
And you, Beth, as well?
Yeah, I've been staying in shelters more too, just because I think it's just because of ease, And we did get some rain, so and sprinkles sometimes, so just easier then, and then you're not packing up a wet tent in the morning.
But there's something about being in your tent that's so comfortable, I think.
I agree.
Yeah. But the following day you hit the Saddleback Mountains, and a bit like Franconia Ridge, you picked the perfect day, with the weather. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it was beautiful. We went over the Saddleback and then the Horn and then the Junior Saddleback, and it was all beautiful weather. You could see for miles, and it was perfect. It wasn't cold. It wasn't too hot. Just a perfect day.
I must say, Maine was a surprise to me. I was expecting it to be a bit of a letdown after New Hampshire, but really, it just keeps going, doesn't
it? You mean like the southern New Hampshire with the jagged rocks and stuff?
Well, no, yeah. Well, southern Maine is still difficult.
Oh yeah, southern Maine. I meant
it's still difficult, but it's spectacular up there as well. I mean,
it is. It's kind of steep ups and downs, but still, it's fun. It's not as hard as the Whites was, but
no.
It's still kind of like. Don't forget that there's still some ups to accomplish.
Oh, yeah. It's not all over yet, definitely. And you chose to have a short day because apparently you needed to hit the town by Thursday, which was still 2 days away. Tell us why you needed to hit the town, Andrew.
Wow, it was week one kickoff with my Philadelphia Eagles playing on Thursday night against the Cowboys, so I had to watch them win.
That kind of worked.
They won.
They did, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. And the following day, you passed the 2,000 miles, and you met an odd bloke. That was kind of weird, wasn't it? The bloke with the mask.
It was very weird. This guy was sitting with a mask on, and then he had a big backpack and two big, like, grocery bags full of stuff. And he was just sitting there, and I said, "Oh, how are you doing?" or something like that. And he said, "How far is it to New Hampshire?" And I said, "Well, let me pull it up on Far Out." So I pulled it up, and I showed him, and it was 63 miles or whatever. So I didn't think much of it. I just went by him and thought, well, that's kind of a weird question to ask, but whatever. And then got to the shelter, and Andrew was asked, and so was Look Back. And there were other people who said, "Oh, yeah, we saw that guy too." And he was wondering where he was. And I thought, what are you doing out here?
And he only asked the people how far to New Hampshire. That's all he asked.
Yeah,
it's kind of odd, but the Maine woods and the Maine mountains, you can get lost there very easily. So I wonder if he's okay. Did you see him? You didn't see him again because he was going the other way, I presume.
Right, he was going the other way. He just seemed, I don't know. He didn't seem lost because he was on the trail. I don't know.
Well, it was okay.
It was strange. It was a strange situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the last time we spoke, you'd been having some difficulty getting water. Has that improved much?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, definitely. We've had some rain lately, so the streams are flowing a little bit better.
Nice. And you still with Look Back. Is his leg any better?
Hard to say. Every time we ask him, he just says, "Oh, it's fine." That usual answer.
Yeah.
Is he slowing you down though, or are you still because you still seem to be making good pace?
Yeah, we're not in any major hurry to get done. None of us have a certain date in mind. So, like, I think the last 2 days we did like a 15 and then a 17, but then today we did 5,
Right.
and
But that's great. That's great not to have to hurry. So have you got in your mind when you think you're going to summit?
Not an exact date, but I've kind of been mathing it out. I think we got about 10, 11 days, and then we'll get to Katahdin.
Wow.
And we've also decided that if it's crappy weather, we're going to wait it out until it's nice so we can summit with a good view and good weather and stuff too.
So it could be October then.
It could be.
Yeah. Do you know what? I hope you can do that, because summiting on a nice day with a great picture as well. By the way, which is really important, have you thought about your pose yet at the top of the sign? Because you're going to have to live with that photo for the rest of your life, and do not regret it.
I've been thinking about mine, but we'll see how it goes. It might change once I step up on the sign.
Yeah, and then it was the Crockers, next day north and south. I seem to remember they were fairly easy. Is that right? The Crocker Mountains?
Oh, was that the one with the rain? That was the Bigelows.
No, that was the Bigelows. That was the rain. Yeah. The Crockers must not have been too hard, because I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember them either.
I don't know whether that takes you down to Stratton, but wherever it was, you got how many sets of Trail Magic that day?
Oh yeah, we got 3
in the
sets
place
of Trail Magic that day.
Yeah, that's the one that had the soda and candy in the 2 bags, and then if you walk down the parking lot a little bit, there's Hiker Jim, I think it was.
Hiker Tom.
Hiker Tom. He was grilling up hot dogs, and then the chief of police was handing out beer out of the back of his car.
It was great.
Dear.
There were a lot of hikers stranded there for a while, thinking, "Oh, hot dogs, beer,
yeah, that's
snacks."
That's not going to make you hurry, is it? Definitely not.
No.
And despite all that Trail Magic, you still got your shuttle driver to hit the local grocery store for more food. I remember at this stage, I was absolutely hoovering down as much food as I possibly could. Is that hunger hiker really biting both of you still?
Well, I still eat a lot, but I don't seem to be having all the cravings like I did before. Like before, I was just crushing sodas and eating as much as I can, but now I don't have the craving for as much sugar or anything anymore. So maybe my body doesn't think it's in an emergency.
After all these months, it's no longer in an emergency.
You're certainly giving it a go, though. Certainly,
I'm going to try.
and you stayed at the Hostel of Maine, which I don't believe I've been to. Was that good?
Oh, it was beautiful there. It was it has hikers in the summer and then skiers in the wintertime there, and it's a beautiful lodge, and we had a great time there.
But I can only presume that they don't have TV there, because the game you wanted to watch was only shown about 5 miles away at a bowling alley, and you still went. You still went. Is that right?
Yep. I wasn't going to miss this game for nothing. I could get a shuttle from the lodge to the bowling alley, but then they said 9:45 is our cutoff for being able to pick us back up. It's like, I'm going to gamble. I can probably talk somebody into giving us a ride home from the bowling alley. But luckily enough, this other woman that was staying at the lodge, Pooh, she came and picked us up. So that was really nice of her.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. And the Eagles won, so happy days.
And the Eagles won. Go Birds.
It looks like it's going to be a good season for them as well. You took a 0 the next day, which was last Friday, and then you hit the Bigelows, my favourite part of Maine. And I think that's as high as you're going to be climbing until you reach Katahdin. Unfortunately, the weather let you down. It must have been a tough day.
Oh, it was rainy from about 11 o'clock until after we finished, and it was cold. And
windy.
Yeah, it was
going over the top of that Bigelow Mountains where it's just all exposed and it's just like one big pointy rock peak. And it's beautiful probably when you're not walking
can see
through
something.
But the wind was blowing and the rain was really coming down, and it was just, you couldn't see nothing. It was a little dangerous, but I thought it was still kind of fun because it was, an adventure instead of just walking over in a mountain.
Totally. Totally. And the event, it's this adventure that I'm seeking for next year. So I'm not sure I want to go over the Bigelows in rough weather, but because I remember that was just magnificent views up there. Some of my best pictures are from the top of the Bigelows. Then yesterday, I'll send them to you if you like, to show you what it really looks like. Because if you didn't see anything when you went over there. Yesterday, which was Sunday, you had an 18-mile day, I think, and you got to the Hanson Pierce Pond Camp, which is where they serve a really big breakfast, I seem to remember. Is that right?
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
And you said in your notes that it had been a very rocky and rooty day. Some of those routes in Maine leave you scratching your head, don't they? I mean, you think the trail's going up here over these routes, really?
Yeah, it's like those routes. I've never seen anything like it. Even from the whole rest of the trail, this has got to be the rootiest section.
Yeah. and when they're wet, they are lethal, aren't they?
Oh, yes. Because you just don't expect it, and all of a sudden your feet are slipping out from under you.
Or they're grabbing your feet to trip you up. It's just...
Oh, it's a nightmare. Yeah, I seem to remember those really well. Actually, I've got several pictures where I'm just looking at these routes now, as if to say, how on earth am I meant to get through that? And then this morning, after your big breakfast, you crossed the Kennebec. How long do you have to wait? Because you called me you texted me about 10. So I know people start about 9, don't they?
The boat started at 9, and we got there maybe at 10, and then there was just Uncle Bill and what's his wife's name?
Pace Setter.
They were ahead of us, and then it was me and Beth, and then Look Back and another little potato. So we didn't have to wait too long.
No. It's kind of a nice part of the trail, isn't it? Crossing the Kennebec. Yeah. It's just kind of, especially as it's got a blaze in the middle of the canoe, hasn't it?
We both forgot to look. We even mentioned it before getting in the boat. Like, and then we forgot. So, it was there.
So, are you staying in Caratunk now then?
Yeah, we're at Hostel Sterling.
Right.
Sterling, bed and breakfast or something. Great. Oh my gosh, it is an amazing hostel. It's
really?
Yeah, this couple that owns it now. They've only owned it for 8 weeks now, and they're above and beyond. This is a big, huge building, house. Half of it's from 1890 and the other half is from 1940 or something like that. It's just huge. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, and the resupply is just awesome, and anything you'd want. And then she made fresh apple cake today, and it was great.
I can see another 0 coming on, possibly. So how far have you gone now? What's your mileage now?
We got 151 left.
Wow.
I know. I'm excited. It's like 151 feels like nothing.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. It's just like walk the park. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So you're not that far from Monson in that case, only about 30, 40 miles from Monson, aren't you?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that where Shaw's is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Well, look, have a great week. I'm sure you will, and we'll catch up again next week. Okay.
Awesome.
It sounds great.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
I absolutely loved the Bigelows, and I had awesome views from there. Some of my best pictures from the 2014 thru-hike, in fact. Beth and Andrew didn't get those views, and it goes to underline what I've always thought. You need to take those views when you get the chance. Just sit there or stand there for 5 minutes and soak in the views. They may not be available 5 minutes later, so take them when you can. You will not regret it, and I certainly will be doing that myself next year. So that's it for today. Loved our interviews. I'm delighted to have been able to share my plans for next year with you all. As they say, watch this space. I'll see you next week.